Valletta. Most of you know me as the body scientist, and you know me for my health and wellness videos, my nutrition videos and sexuality videos that I put on YouTube on my channel, The Body Scientist 81. But in this video, I'm going to talk about social issues, okay? Specifically police brutality and violence in the riots and all this, okay? This video is inspired by a lot of what has been happening in various cities in the country, but specifically what's going on in Baltimore right now. I just want to say a little bit about my background. My dad was heavily involved in the civil rights movement. He was kicked out of college in 1960, Florida A&M, for being involved in the movement. That's when the sit-ins started in the South. My dad was born and raised in the segregated South, and he went north. My dad was one of the organizers of the first Black Power conference in Philly. I think it was like 1963 or 64 or something like that. He knew Malcolm very well. He was at over 100 of his speeches, and he was there the day he was assassinated. He got there after it happened. The Audubon Ballroom was 5 blocks from where I grew up in Harlem, Sugar Hill. And my dad was a part of the organization that strategically put together the Black Panthers of Oakland. A lot of people don't know the Black Panthers started in Alabama, registering black people to vote. That's what they were doing. They were not about taking up arms. They were about registering black people to vote. And they managed to change the elected officials in Alabama from almost all white to all black because of that, okay? And so he was a part of the, he talks about it. I have a BlogTalkRadio show that you can look at below, where I put the link where he talks about the history of that and how it was put together and why Oakland and stuff like that, all right? And since I've been living, my dad has been a journalist. He always wrote op-ed columns. He was never a reporter. So he wrote op-ed column twice a week for the New York Daily News in the 90s. He wrote for Emerge magazine. He wrote for the Village Voice. He wrote for the, the Manchester Guardian of London, and a variety of other publications. He also has published books like Reconsidering the Souls of Black Folks by W.E.B. Du Bois, and my uncle wrote Ready for Revolution, which is the Autobiography of Stokley Carmichael. My uncle went to college with Stokley Carmichael, to Howard, and my dad wrote the afterward of the book. And so I grew up around people who were involved in the civil rights movement. My uncle was also a professor at UMass Amherst. My dad was a professor of Afro-American Studies at UMass Amherst with no degree. He had no degree, okay, and he was a professor. And he also was one of the founders of the first Black Studies Department. So growing up, I'm from New York City. In the 90s, when Giuliani was our mayor, so many young black men were being shot by the police, 50 times and all this crazy stuff. My dad wrote articles about that. I saw my dad argue with editors and all the issues in politics that he went through. So I fully know how the media works and functions. My dad has been on television, he's been on the radio, so I know about all aspects of the media. Very much aware of that. And so in the high school that I went to, the whole school, including the school teachers, we seriously celebrated October 22nd, which was Police Brutality Day, where we wore all black and we would walk out. Teachers would walk out, okay? So I've always been involved in issues around police brutality. When I graduated high school, I was awarded some activist award I was given for that, for just, my activism in a lot of different areas. So, and also my mom is a labor rep. She works for the UAW. She is now an international labor rep, but she has organized strikes at Columbia University, Barnard, the Museum of Modern Art, NYU. NYU CAs were the first CAs ever to be unionized. My mom has been involved in political campaigns from local to presidential. She's an organizer out there in the street, and I know what that work is like, how hard it is to organize people, how hard it is to organize a bunch of people to come together to achieve something. Like you have, when you're people are on strike, there's certain things they want in their contracts, so they have these things listed out, and that's what it is that they are striking for, and they are together in solidarity. and there's a lot of power in that, okay? And I know how difficult that work is. But and also, my dad is from St. Augustine, Florida, and Florida black people have a history of always being, you know, not about that nonviolent stuff. Black people in Florida, the whole history of Florida, and the black Seminoles, they were fierce fighters. And my dad always told me, growing up, if a white person called them a nigger, they fought them, period. My dad showed me an area in his town where his friends got in a shootout with the KKK. My dad left the South because he knew he was either going to kill somebody or get killed, okay? So Florida has a fierce history. Martin Luther King talked about Florida Negroes not participating in the nonviolent movement, not wanting to hear that. And my dad wasn't about that life. Now, years later, he sees, how that in this country you can't achieve anything by trying to, get in a shootout with the police or, by violence, because we're the minority. You can start shooting with the police and shoot out police, and then the military comes. You're not going to win battles against the military, and it's just ridiculous. What needs to be done is to get in positions of power. If you're so angry, go to school, do really well in school, get up the ladder, get in all those powers of position, get in the system. That's how changes are made. This is not Haiti during the Haitian Revolution, where Africans were the sheer majority, and so when they decided to have a violent overthrow, it was possible because they way outnumbered the Europeans. Whereas in this country, black people, minorities, are sheer, I'm going to say black people and other non-white people are a minority in the whole continent of the United States. Most of this country is white. Not only that, but burning down your own community does not make any sense, okay? Over the years, I've traveled to a lot of cities, and there's a lot of places. I lived in Pittsburgh. I remember being shown a neighborhood that was a historic black neighborhood that had this whole history, this very rich jazz history, and right now it's all torn apart. And I asked, what happened? And it's, they had riots, they burned everything down. Now this is stupid. Like, if you're already complaining that you're not getting the resources you need, you're not being paid attention to, if you already feel like that, why the hell would you burn down shit in your own community? And the thing is, too, with Baltimore, it's like there's a senior center that was burned down. It was built by the church. The fire department trying to put out fires, and people are coming and stabbing hoses with knives, setting people's cars on fire. First of all, fires are dangerous and can end up killing more people. And then you don't allow the fire department to put them out. You're not allowing them to do their job. They have a dangerous job. They have families at home. So it has nothing to do with police brutality at all. Also, it's no mystery that Baltimore's had a very high and ridiculous murder rate for a very long time. I went to college in Delaware, and when I was in college, Baltimore and D.C. were tied as the murder capitals. Philly, right down the road, also has a ridiculous murder rate. So many cities do. And, people are not, there's so many young black men that are killed every day because of nothing, and people are not outraged and going crazy over that. And that is an important fact. A lot of people want to act like it's two different things. It's not two different things. It is related. Because also, on the flip side, you have a lot of neighborhoods in Detroit, in Chicago, in LA, where there are cops that have to deal with really ignorant people. Like, let's be real, there are a lot of really ignorant people in some of these cities. If you are, just killing people for nothing, then you're really ignorant. And there's a lot of that going on. So to not address that and overlook that is just ridiculous. Like, I'm not for police brutality. I don't defend that. I don't defend that at all. I almost went to trial with the NYPD. It was 8 years ago. I almost went to trial with the NYPD. So I'm not a lover or defender of the police, but I'm looking at the full picture of everything. And I don't think every cop is out to get you. And, and at the same time, Baltimore has been a city that has been decaying. Most people don't want to fuck around and spend time in Baltimore. So the people who are going around burning down businesses, there was a man in the news who grew up in this neighborhood, and he showed this lot that he said it was an empty lot his whole entire life. And a brewery was built there by somebody in the community, and that was burned down. It's like, that's like you're burning down black-owned businesses. And even if they weren't black-owned businesses, just burning down businesses, period. I don't see how that contributes to helping with the issue of police brutality. If anything, it could result in more people being dead. Like, you throw rocks at the police, what happens if they all start shooting you? Like, that's just not smart. And so I just have high standards for my people. And my dad always told me, just because somebody's your color does not mean they're your kind. He always said that, and it's really true. Because my grandmother, who is still living, she'll be 94, from the South. The way I was raised was to carry yourself a certain way. Black people have always been poor, but they weren't running around calling women bitches and niggers and robbing old ladies. I mean, even when Katrina happened, you had dudes running around raping women in the Superdome. Like, that's ignorant, and people want to overlook that and just be like, oh, the police are doing this, the police are doing that. And you're not, you're ignoring a lot of significant things. I don't condone hood rat behavior at all. I don't associate with hood rat black people. And I understand protest. I grew up in protest. I grew up on picket lines. I know what that is. And I know that organization is important. Disorganized craziness, burning down your community is going to result in stuff being worse. And it's just retarded. So, no, I don't condone that type of stuff at all. And I don't have respect for any person who tries to defend that, and then they want to quote Martin Luther King and Malcolm X as if they would be there. No, the hell they wouldn't. Malcolm X never went out into the street and was participated in any violent, riots or burning down the community. He was in Harlem. There was no riots in Harlem where people decided to burn Harlem down like they did in so many other cities. It's just stupid. So I'm going to leave it at that.